the roots of Judaism, which is another of our world religions. Yesterday we learned about Hinduism and Buddhism that came out of India. Now we're going back to the Mediterranean to talk about the world's first major monotheistic religion. And here we go. In our video today, our goals are to identify the traditional beginnings of Judaism, compare these traditional beliefs with historical evidence, describe the rise and fall of the Israelite kingdom, identify the basic tenets or beliefs of Judaism, and in your digital notebook you will need to define the terms Torah, Judaism, monotheistic, and patriarchal. Let's go. Judaism began about 3,000 years ago. Abraham was credited as the founder of the religion. He rejected idol worship of his homeland in Mesopotamia, which you see labeled on the map, and migrated to an area known as Canaan, which we now today call Israel or Palestine. We'll use the term Palestine since it's more general, but we'll use Canaan when referring to this land in ancient times. It was between Mesopotamia and Egypt along the Mediterranean Sea. According to the Torah, Abraham's followers, the Israelites, and his descendants, the Israelites, eventually were forced to leave Canaan when a famine forced them to move to Egypt. According to the Torah, which are the first 5 books of the Old Testament in the Bible, the Israelites were then enslaved in Egypt. Moses, who was a prophet, who was a member of the elite of Egypt, he eventually leads the Israelites out of captivity and back to Canaan. This is documented in the book of Exodus in the Bible. The Israelites then went on to set up kingdoms in Canaan or Palestine. So what does the historical evidence show of these early stories? Well, there is some evidence, but it is also possible that these stories were used to help explain how Israelites came to be in the land of Canaan or Palestine. So there is some possible evidence showing an Israelite migration to Egypt. There's also evidence of many different groups entering Canaan around 1250 BCE and conquering some Canaanite towns, so moving out of Egypt into Palestine. Israelites set up a kingdom in Palestine by 1020 BCE. We do have evidence of this. And so that's what we're going to talk about now, the kingdoms of Israel. The Israeli kingdoms, we have a simple rise and fall. King David is credited with making Israel a powerful kingdom, and his son Solomon established the now famous city of Jerusalem, which is the holiest city for Jews and also a holy city for Christians as well as Muslims. Under Solomon, Israel began to rival the power of Egypt and Mesopotamian empires. The problem was this kingdom grew too quickly and it split into two. You had the kingdom of Israel in the north and Judah in the south of Palestine. Divided, the kingdoms were weak, and so 2 other groups who we've talked about in Mesopotamia, the Assyrians and the Babylonians, were able to conquer Israel and Judah. The Assyrians conquered Israel in the north, and the Babylonians conquered Judah in the south. The Babylonians, however, took prisoners. Basically, they forced the Israelites to move to Babylon, and this is where they become known as Jews. So what does Judaism entail? What are its beliefs? Well, Jews are monotheistic. It means they believe in one God. They call this God Yahweh, or more commonly Adonai, as the first term I mentioned is reserved for the most sacred of places, and most do not say it. But Adonai is how they would normally refer to their one God. They do see themselves as God's chosen people. because God made a covenant with Abraham and his descendants. And by leading them back out of slavery and into Israel, he was seen as giving his favor to the Israelites. As far as the beliefs of Judaism, furthermore, laws and morality were very important to early Jewish societies. Their society was patriarchal. It was a male-dominated society. And they had 10 commandments that outlined, how Jews should live their life. For example, do not lie, steal, kill, do not envy or covet other people's goods, respect God, do not use his name in vain. And according to Jewish belief, these laws were handed down directly from God to Moses. The leaders in Judaism were not gods, however. They were just regular kings, regular people, unlike we might see in Mesopotamia and especially in Egypt. They had to follow the laws too. And so there's a lineage of prophets who oftentimes interpreted God's wills, and as we find in the sacred texts of Judaism and Christianity, they often chastised elite priests and nobility for their corruption, impiety, or ignoring the poor. Basically, if the priests became too powerful, these prophets might come along and put them back in their place, so to speak. Over the years, as Jewish people have spread throughout the world, these beliefs have changed somewhat. For example, in early Judaism, they practiced animal sacrifice, which is no longer practiced in Judaism and would be seen today as more of a pagan practice that you would see in Mesopotamia or Egypt. So things have changed quite a bit, but the core beliefs of monotheism, living a just life by the Ten Commandments, those are pretty well set. We'll talk more about this in class tomorrow. We'll do a little bit more with Judaism and the Israelite kingdoms in Palestine. So come ready to do that. You have a wonderful day.